Then, welcome again to our second webinar today. I'm Peter Welbrock, the CEO and founder of W-ITC. With me today is again Grzegorz Pawłowski, and he will guide you mostly through today's topic, which is security success, security and integration capabilities of Codebeamer, which will guide you a little bit through that. And let's directly show you the slides. So that is a title slide, and we can directly jump to the agenda. And here is the agenda, and what we will present you today is the overview of the Codebeamer security architecture. Then we will go in the authentication authorization. That's sometimes a little bit not so easy. And then go to the security layers, go over best practices, how you can do that, and then have a QA session at the end. This webinar will only be around about half an hour, so we will not be able to cover everything. So, like always, please don't hesitate. Reach out to us later if you have any question. We are always happy to help. And yeah, that would be enough for my words for now. And I would like to give over to Grzegorz.
Okay, so hello everybody. And as Peter already mentioned, today we will be focusing on security within Codebeamer. So Codebeamer offers us the multi-layered security approach. It is designed to provide protection against all unauthorized access and data breaches. So this approach integrates various security measures at different levels in the application architecture. And at first, we'll have a look at web container security ensured by Apache Tomcat. It's the primary web container for Codebeamer. It's responsible for processing all web requests from users, and it's acting as a gateway between the application and the external network. Security configurations in Apache include HTTPS enforcement, secure cookie settings, or the configuration of security headers. And some of these features that are worth remembering are listed in the slide here. We'll briefly go through them. So as I've already mentioned, Apache Tomcat is the first point of contact for all incoming HTTP and HTTPS requests. So it handles all the initial requests from the outside network. Tomcat also provides a controlled environment for the web applications, which runs securely and isolated from one another. So one application doesn't know what is happening inside the other, so there is basically a mitigating feature for all the data breaches that can happen. Tomcat is also configured to enhance security through various settings, such as, for example, secure session management. So the configuration related to session cookies is protected against cross-site scripting. The web XML configuration file also allows us to define security constraints to restrict access to certain areas of the application based on the roles within the application. And we also have connection timeouts or request size limits, so there is a feature that mitigates all the denial of service attacks. Going further, the Codebeamer Apache Tomcat is integrated with security frameworks such as, for example, Spring Security. So it's vital to enforcing security policies at the application level. Access to data within Codebeamer is managed remotely. So it includes also the configuration that ensures all the secure data access and transmission. We can access the data from anywhere we are, and we can be sure that we are doing it safely for the data, for the company, for the application. Apache Tomcat within Codebeamer is regularly updated and patched, so you can be sure that all the vulnerabilities that are identified will be fixed as soon as possible. And Tomcat allows us to log and monitor all the data that goes through the Codebeamer in any way we want. Now let's focus for a moment on the authentication and authorization, which are the first points that the end user will be verified within. So these are the two pillars of security in every application that works with web users. Starting with authentication, Codebeamer supports this feature, and it focuses on ensuring that users are who they claim to be. So we have standard login and password at the beginning, which is the very basic feature to identify the user. We also have SingleSignOn feature. This is very useful for the companies which have more than one service, because it allows users to log from external services with the very same login that they use outside of Codebeamer. And we also have LDAP and Active Directory integration. So if you have any kind of central user management system, you can integrate it with Codebeamer and also use it as your management system for authentication for the users within the ITC app. And we also have authorization. So after the user is authenticated and we are sure that he is who he claims to be, we can check his authorization permissions. So, for example, we can check what are the roles or groups that the user is assigned to, and based on that, the permissions or accesses can be verified. And as I've already mentioned, user management is done on a few layers. The user management module is like a central module within Codebeamer user management. It helps us organize users, groups, roles, and permissions and connections between all of them. It allows all the administrators to define and enforce all the security policies that are used within Codebeamer, and allows administrators to access all the data regarding these users that use the application. And as for the synchronization with the LDAP or the Active Directory, it not only simplifies the user management, but it also enhances security by leveraging all of these security policies that already exist within the enterprise. One of the most interesting, I would say, topics within Codebeamer architecture is its data encryption capability. Because we all know that cybersecurity is now really important for all the companies that work with software and store their data on the servers. So in Codebeamer, it is ensured by using the symmetric cryptography key. So the same key is used to both encrypt and decrypt the data. So this method converts data into format that can be accessed only using the secret key, and the key is stored in the separate file. So it's like another layer of security for the application, because you can't access the secret key from the main configuration files within the Codebeamer instance. And now we'll have a brief look at the types of data that the cryptography key is used to encrypt or decrypt. At the very beginning, we have installer system administrator password. So this is the same password that is being set up at the moment of installation of Codebeamer within your machine. So this password is encrypted and stored within the application in a secure way. What's also important with Codebeamer encryption is the fact that the application can be integrated with other apps, such as, for example, Jira or Doors. And to integrate users with these applications, we have to store the password somewhere. So this information is also encrypted and is safely stored within the Codebeamer instance. Same goes for project imports, because if you have a project that is secured by password, then again, this password is encrypted using the secret key that is stored within your Codebeamer instance. Same goes for the documents that you store or create or generate within your Codebeamer, because the RPE secret is also encrypted and decrypted if needed within the Codebeamer. Going further, Codebeamer allows us to send emails through the configured mail server, and again, this mail server is encrypted to prevent any unauthorized access. So only the administrator of the Codebeamer instance can send emails from this mail server. There is no chance that any unauthorized user can access this mail from the outside and send the information directly to the whole company or access anything from that mail server. If you are using SingleSignOn, so SSO, then you are probably also using SAML, and the passphrase for the SAML is also encrypted. So all the data that is used to centrally manage the user credentials are also encrypted within the secret key. If you are also integrating with the LDAP, then you can be sure that this information is encrypted. And we can show even more of this information, for example, with Bitbucket, with Git, with user passwords, with token. Everything is encrypted in a way that helps you integrate with Codebeamer securely and use all the other applications safely. Now, going a bit further, we can focus on something that is more related to users themselves, not on the exact application. Users and developers, in fact, because Codebeamer is tightly connected to security audits and compliance, because most of the people using Codebeamer are from regulated industries. They focus on developing features, software, hardware that is highly regulated. So all these compliances and security is really important to maintain from the very beginning to the very end of the development process. And by implementing these features, Codebeamer will ensure that everything is protected. And so, for example, Codebeamer itself is maintained by the audit trails that record every action taken within the system. So these logs include all details such as the user information. We know who performed what action at what time, what was the details of this action. So if anything happens, if there is any data breach, or we have if there is a chance that someone stole the data, then we can easily track it down and verify who did it and when exactly. What's more, Codebeamer also undergoes regular security assessments. So even if there were some possibilities that there are some data breaches within the application itself, the Codebeamer development team works all the time to check and fix all the problems that are within the application. The Codebeamer assessments include, for example, penetration testing or code reviews. So the development team is proactively discovering all these issues and fixing them regularly. What's also quite useful while using Codebeamer and making sure that what you develop is safe and secure is the possibility to easily manage all compliance audits within Codebeamer. So if you have to comply with various regulatory standards, these compliance audits will help you ensure that the system meets all the relevant legal or regulatory requirements, and that review will also include all of the data handling, privacy policies, security measures, and so on. You can also integrate Codebeamer with security tools. and for example use the systems that will help you in real-time analysis or generate security alerts by applications and network hardware if anything happens. And ensuring security within Codebeamer is also possible via the raising awareness. So security training and awareness are really important for all the Codebeamer users. PTC partners such as W-ITC, such as our company, can help you ensure that all of your users are working with Codebeamer in a secure way and not leaving any kind of breaches or malfunctions that might result in data leak in the future. And that's tightly connected to the incident response plan, because using Codebeamer you can easily create plans and documents that will help you let's say react instantly when anything happens. So even if something goes wrong, you can have a plan in place to fix the problem that occurs. The application itself also is secure on the level that is connected directly to the external network. So it has some security checks in place that prevent any kind of common threats that might be used to steal the data from the company. For example, Codebeamer has SQL injection prevention feature that works by using parameterized queries and prepared statements to interact with the database. So it's not possible to input some executable code and we hope it works in Codebeamer. There is no way for that. You have to use the parameters that were predefined to get the data from the inside. And pretty much the same goes for the cross-site scripting prevention, because in here again Codebeamer by itself escapes all special characters or external code that can be injected. So you have to follow the secure code policies and practices in order to work with the application itself. And it's also secured against other common threats by using, for example, tokens or session management. In general, Codebeamer can be easily made even more secure by centralized user management, because the system administrator can secure the whole application by setting up the roles and groups, which should be regularly checked and verified. So we should be able to check if the user needs such role, such permissions, and if not, then take them away. And also one small yet quite powerful feature is the session management, because in Codebeamer you can really easily verify for how long the user is active, but also enforce that after some time the user is logged out of the application. Now we will talk for a moment about the best practices that can be implemented while using Codebeamer, but keep in mind that this is rather short list. We are just talking about the general ideas, and the list of what should be done and what could be done is definitely longer. I believe that some of you will probably know even better what should be put inside of here, so I'll just go through the things that are directly related to the Codebeamer itself. And so you have to keep in mind that in Codebeamer you can use the HTTPS only. You can disable all the HTTP connectors, and thus ensuring that all the connections that are going from outside are handled via the encrypted channel. in Codebeamer you can use the SSL certificates that are provided by the trusted sources, so it's encouraged to do so. Use strong SSL certificates to make sure that the application is secure. You can also centralize all authentication within the applications, so all the enterprise user management systems like LDAP or Active Directory can use centralized authentication and authorization, which is unified for the whole company. In Codebeamer you can also implement role-based access control, so RBAC, to ensure that users have minimum necessary permissions. That's what I was talking about a moment ago, so just make sure that users have enough roles to perform their tasks and nothing more, and regularly review if they need all these permissions that they have. You can also enable multi-factor authentication, so add an extra layer of security for user logins. You can enforce strong passwords for users and also enforce that they change them regularly. And Codebeamer allows you to easily back up the data that you have inside, so it is also encouraged that you do it regularly, as well as the security audits, so change the logs, change the monitors, and be sure that everything is safe inside. And you can also configure firewall just to make sure that the data isn't leaking anywhere, and train your workers, your employees, to make sure that they are using Codebeamer securely. And now for a moment we'll go to the Codebeamer, so I will be able to show you some of the application capabilities. We will take a look at some of the easily accessible and generally easy to set features, as there are plenty of things that we've talked about today that are more complex and too advanced to show during this brief presentation. But for example, if you want to access the user management, we just have to open the system admin panel, and inside at the very top we can see that we can access the user accounts. So in here we can create new accounts, we can delete accounts, or rather disable them. We can set up the permissions for them, so everything is possible from this single panel. And the same goes for the user groups. The user groups are used to divide the users of the Codebeamer application between the groups with different permissions. It's important to distinguish between groups and roles, because groups are created for the whole application, while the roles, as I will show you in a moment, the roles are created for the project itself. And in here we can see that roles are like architect, scrum master, and so on. So we can create the roles for the specific project, and creating a role looks inside of the panel basically the same as creating a new group. So we can even use the other roles or groups as templates for that. Now going back to the system admin panel, we also have some easy configurations that we can access. For example, we can take a look at user authentication. And inside we should be able to set up the LDAP or Active Directory server. So every information that we have to put inside to set up such connection, such integration, is in this one panel. You don't have to dig deep into the source code or create new files. You just have to synchronize everything in here, and the integration will be working. So it's quite easy. You don't have to be an advanced DevOps or system administrator. You just have to learn how to do it. Going further, we can take a look at, for example, Audit panel, in which all the administrators can easily access data about the logins, about the artifacts, the permissions, and configure the data about what should be stored within the audits. So we just have to type in the name of the user, change what type of events are we looking for, what is the range that we're looking at, and we can easily get all the data that we need. We can also directly export it to either Excel or to PDF. So if you have someone who is not working with Codebeamer, you can easily send them the data, and they are probably using some kind of office tools, so they would be able to access them from that. Okay. Other useful features that are easily accessible from System Admin panel are single sign-on configurations. That should be here. I will be able to show you that it's also one simple panel. You don't have to dig deep into the source code or create configuration files. You just have to enable it in here and set up the information that you need for this single sign-on. So again, if you want to add another layer of security for your application, you can do it directly from here. And talking about single sign-on, it's worth to also take a look at the passwords themselves, because if you want to enforce strong passwords for the company, you have this simple panel at your disposal. You just have to click to force the policy and then set up the information that should be enforced on the users. So the length, what letters or signs should be used, and how often should the password expire. And there are also other features that I will probably not cover today, but they are really useful. If you have any chance to work with Codebeamer, you can easily take a look at the system admin panel and verify it on your own. And as for the Codebeamer presentation for today, I think that would be all. So I will be going back to our slides, and that will be all from me. Thank you for your attention. I'm going back to you, Peter.
Yeah, thank you, Grzegorz, for sharing the presentation. Beside that, if you have any other questions that come up later on, please reach out to us. Here you see our contact information and my contact information. And we also wanted to highlight one event that is upcoming, and the next one is in 2 weeks this time. And it will be Enhanced Efficiency, Advanced Test Management with Codebeamer. So we will focus on the right side of the V model at this time, so that we show all the advantages that you have in test management, and also how that can be secured, how that is an advantage for companies in a regulated industry, and how all of that will be then documented and secured for you. Then, beside that, there is still a reminder that we have an in-person event on 26th of June, so in summertime here in the Tree Cube. It will be together, it will be in the rooms of the DRWG, and there will be a channel and a page soon. You can register over LinkedIn or via a link on our homepage. And if there are no other additional questions, then I would say I wish you all a nice evening.